Precious Achiuwa might just be the steal that we always thought he could be in the OG Anunoby trade, and we have to talk about it because he just played his best game as a New York Knick, and also Isaiah Hartenstein is dealing with an ankle injury, so he is questionable for the next few games for the New York Knicks. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video as we always do, because Precious Achiuwa just had the best game of his New York Knicks career. Now, if we look, a piece of the blockbuster trade broke out on the Knicks' 126-100 win over the Toronto Raptors on Saturday night at MSG. The first time the two teams had played since the deal, so obviously RJ and IQ's first game back in the Garden. Knicks center Precious Achiuwa finished with 18 points, by far his season high with either team, in 25 minutes off the bench, along with 11 rebounds and a block. And that's not all. If you also look, he did, in fact, go 9 for 10 from the field. I almost said 10 for 11. He went 9 for 10 from the field, had plus 13, which was some of the best off the bench, led the bench in scoring. It was just a great game by Precious Achiuwa. He had more points than a handful of the Knicks starters outside of Jalen Brunson, and he tied Julius Randle. And outside of that, he was tied for the second leading scorer, guys, basically. Precious Achiuwa balled out. Look, I said once that Precious Achiuwa might just be a steal in this video that got a ton of absolutely loving comments, such as these right here. If you want to read them, go ahead and just do that. I'll just read the bottom one because it sums up what most people said on this video. Steal, Precious sucks. That honestly, it was hilarious to read and reread when I just took that screenshot for this video. But look, the thing here is, Isaiah Hartenstein isn't seriously injured, but he did hurt his ankle and did not come back after leaving the game in the third quarter. Precious got a chance to show what he can do, and he totally delivered, which was a huge, huge moment for the Knicks because they're going to need that. The Knicks are playing the Nuggets pretty soon. I think that Hartenstein will be back for that, but it is something that you want Hartenstein for, especially if you're going to go up against Jokic. You don't really want Precious to be the Knicks starting center. You don't want to have to lean on Precious and Jericho in a game where, the best player in the NBA, in my opinion, is showing up. Now, also, the Knicks are entering rivalry week in the NBA right now, and they will be playing the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets are not a great team. They've won, I believe, 8 of their last 10, or 2 of their last 10 games, lost 8 of their last 10, beating the Lakers recently. And outside of that, they've been a pretty abysmal team. It looks like they're going to sell at the deadline. It really feels like the Nets are just back into purgatory, as they usually are. And it's always just, it's not the most important game of the season, but it is rivalry week. This game will be nationally televised. The Knicks have to win this one. They cannot lose to the Brooklyn Nets. It's just a rivalry game that you want to win. It's a game that Randle will get up for because Julius Randle loves playing in Barclays Center. He just thrives there. He plays really well, but he's struggled to beat the Nets throughout his entire Knicks career. So, obviously, we want that win there, and Nick Claxton is a very good center who, again, I'd rather Hartenstein be starting for, because Precious is going to attack the rim, and no one really succeeds that much when attacking on Nick Claxton. It's very rare when that happens. So obviously the Knicks are going to need to be ready. Now, if you take a look here, what Precious had to say about the game is he's just playing the game. You know what I mean? I didn't do anything different. I approached the game the same way every day, play the same intensity. Today just happened to be a day where things went my way. Precious isn't taking this, I don't want to say he's not taking this too seriously, but he's not getting too, in his head about how he just balled out. But especially if you're going to start next game because Hartenstein's out, because he would start. If he's going to start, then he's going to need that confidence. And it's really good that he had a great game when Hartenstein was out. And I think that part of that is because he was playing the Toronto Raptors. He's familiar with the team. He's played against them in practice a million times. He was as comfortable as he could have possibly been. So it kind of worked out for Precious, but he still had a great game. It was the best game that he's played all season on either team. It's the best game he's had in his Knicks tenure easily. So it's a good sign. I don't really care if it's one game. I think it's something nice to see that Precious maybe got unlocked a little bit. Maybe he'll get more minutes now, and Hartenstein won't have to play nearly 40 minutes a night because it's getting ridiculous, and he's going to get injuries like this ankle injury, and then he's not going to succeed in playoff time when we need him to succeed. Tibbs talked about Precious and said, You know, you just want to build every day. I think he played hard. Extended minutes helped him. I think familiar with the opponent, but each day, just get in there and play as hard as you can. When you can do that, good things will come. And Achiuwa has been more than just a throw-in for the Knicks, as highlighted in the article, as he is the team's backup center as of right now. So really, Tibbs seems to like Precious. He seems to have always liked Precious because he instantly got minutes. Sims became the third-string center for right now. I mean, obviously not counting Mitch, who's out with the injury for at least the majority of the rest of the season, if not the rest of the season. So clearly Tibbs believes in Precious. Clearly there's a level of belief there. He's a hard-nosed player. According to Ben Rogers from Raptors Digest, who I was at the Knicks game with last night, he was saying that Precious's main calling card is his defense. If you follow Raptors Digest or subscribe to them, you might know the Precious propaganda of the next, or I believe it was better than Bam and the next Giannis. So shout out to Ben for doing that. We love the Precious propaganda. We love the fact that he was balling out. It's just something the Knicks need. They don't have a backup center right now who's a clear option, who when you go into playoff time, you can think, all right, Hartenstein can sit and we'll be good. And if Mitch comes back, then yeah, problem solved. Who cares? The Knicks will survive. It'll be fine. But they also have to be prepared for the world where Mitch doesn't come back, or where Mitch comes back and he's really rusty, and he can only play a few minutes, and what if Hartenstein gets hurt then? You never really know what's going to happen with Mitchell Robinson health-wise. And Isaiah Hartenstein's playing a lot of minutes. He's a large person. Eventually, you're going to get injuries like this ankle injury. He's jumping around. He's always really getting dirty with it. So he's going to deal with injuries. The Knicks are going to have to question at the deadline, do we need depth? Are we good at center? What's the deal here? So it really depends on how Precious Achiuwa plays, because clearly they don't believe in Sims enough to say, okay, it's fine. He can just play backup center while Mitch is out. They've gone with Precious, and if Precious doesn't really ball out, then I think the Knicks might try to trade for some sort of backup center, depending on who that is. There's a million options out there. If the Knicks do want to go for DeJounte Murray still, despite the price, then they'd probably try to go for Capella also, or maybe AJ Griffin, who's not at all a center. He's literally a wing. But I don't really know. I don't really know why I mentioned that, guys. I just honestly haven't made a video in 2 days, and I'm a little rusty, but it's fine. We're going to power through right here and basically just say, look, the Knicks need to figure out something to do with Precious Achiuwa. They need to figure out if he is someone who is a part of their future or not, because he's young. He's been in the NBA for 5 years, but he doesn't have the most experience of someone who's been in the league for 5 years. He spent time in the G League with both the Heat and the Toronto Raptors. So we're not exactly sure what we're getting out of Precious. He's still young. It feels like his biggest room to grow is basketball IQ, because he's a great athlete. He has some semblance of a jump shot. So clearly he's got some talent. It's the fact of he has to learn where his placement on the court is, and if he can get that basketball IQ up, which is something that is probably the most easily attainable skill for an NBA player, because you're already there. You can always go up to someone like Jalen Brunson, who has an absurdly high IQ if you're Precious, and just be like, hey man, I feel like I'm not comfortable with some stuff. Could you show me this? Or go up to the coaching staff and ask that. Or go up to Hartenstein, who's really high basketball IQ, and ask that. Precious will have all the opportunities in the world to raise his basketball IQ, which feels like could be the real key to unlocking the guy. Because if he can learn how to roll off screens correctly, if he can learn where to go on offense, if he can learn his help defense, the man could become a legit backup center in the NBA, who's one of the best backup centers in the league, maybe something more. It's hard to tell. He's young, but clearly there's talent there, and clearly the Knicks do have some semblance of belief in him, or they would be playing Jericho Sims over him. So they need to figure out what they're doing, and hopefully Precious just keeps balling out. He's clearly got the potential to do so. Let's hope he can figure this out now that he's getting increased minutes with Hartenstein dealing with a nagging injury. But also, luckily, Hartenstein will be back soon, so it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work out. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Turn on post notifications. I'll catch you on the next one, and go Knicks.